with COVID. I mean, the things that we thought we knew in the beginning turned out as the months went by to not be the case, which really forced us to adapt and to change some of our policies and recommendations. That was interpreted by many as flip-flopping or not really knowing what's going on, when it really was the evolution of the science.
Fuck you, Dr. Fauci.
The best vaccination is to get infected yourself. If she really has the flu, she definitely doesn't need a flu vaccine. If she really has the flu,
she should not get it again.
No, she doesn't need it because it's the most potent vaccination is getting infected yourself.
Fuck you, Dr. Fauci.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied. I have never lied. I have never lied.
Fuck you, Dr. Fauci.
I represent science. I represent science. I represent science.
Fuck you, Dr. Fauci.
And we did that
do you
because
regret that it went too far? Whatever your original intentions were, and it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback here, but that it went too far, that particularly for kids who couldn't go to school except remotely, that it's forever damaged them.
Well, I don't think it's forever irreparably damaged anyone.
And we did indeed suffer irreparable harm, sir, whether you care to admit it or not. Good riddance, Dr. Fauci. You are not truth, and you will not be missed.
Cut out the jibber. Cut out the jibber jabber. Don't be babbling like a fool. Say what you got to say. That's all. Then shut your dang pie hole.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. We've got some hard-hitting thinking to do here. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. So I spent a bit of time with Ooman today talking about, well, what is really happening with people dying? Are we panicking? Are we sensationalizing things? Are we fooling ourselves, fooling others? What has happened? What should we be worried about? What we shouldn't? And one of the things I like to say is, you know, we talk about all of these things happening, and we have to decide for ourselves what really matters. If I say, you know, a super athlete, but age 60 dies, could he have died because he strained his heart too much taking some performance-enhancing drugs or stuff in the earlier life? Is that what caused the heart attack, or is it the Jim Jones juice, right? So I say, take a wild guess. And truly, we're taking a wild guess. But there are numbers that are up that are disturbing. And so we want to talk about those. Of special note, whether young or old, are people who are all over social media, virtue signaling, saying, I just went and got the Jim Jones juice, and the next day they're, you know, gone. It's like, okay, you're making it a little easier. So should we, and I thought about this, man, I thought I wrote this down. I was just thinking it today. You know, before we talk about these people, should we go and search their social media and see what their political perspective is every time, and whether or not they have the Jim Jones juice, if it's possible to find out? Or do we rely on others and just kind of chase the news threads and then say, let's just take a wild guess, right? Should we err on the side of caution, or should we throw caution to the wind and just say everything is Jim Jones juice? Well, I'll tell you what. When it comes to throwing my health in the wind, it ain't going to happen. So I'm not taking the Jim Jones juice. When it comes to me thinking about others, well, to me, it's a big floating question mark. But I look at the people who have pushed the Jim Jones juice. Democrats, Dr. Fauci, National Institutes of Health, World Health Organization, right? Rhino Republicans. These are the people that want us to take it. And they've demonstrated that not only are they bad politicians, bad bureaucrats, big fat liar heads, you know, they're also, well, they're a bunch of stinking hypocrites, etc. So I want to get into this, folks. Shit has hit the fan 2 years ago plus. 2 years ago plus. 2020 spring, 2021 spring, 2021 spring, 2022 spring. Hell, 2023 spring will be 3 freaking years of being under the thumb of Dr. Fauci and what he does, and those that support him, right? So in the spring, another 5 months, right? That's going to be 3 fucking years of this guy, and he won't go away. I mean, I had Megyn Kelly. They're going, good riddance. We thought he was leaving. He's still on the news. Anyways, let's jump into some other things, right? I mean, who are these people that are telling you to get the Jim Jones juice? Well, I don't know. And should we trust them when it comes to voting? Louisiana Democrats sentenced to prison in a vote buying scheme. Folks, when we talk about shit hitting the fan, you talk about government corruption. Does this smell right? Right? Former police chief Terry, police chief, come on, dang, get the hell out of there. Jerry Trabona and a current city councilman, Chris Hart, charged with conspiring to buy votes. Unbelievable. I mean, this is what we got. These are the people, right? And do they represent everyone in the party? Well, no. But now this is where I want to step back and go, well, what do the Democrats say? What do the Democrats do? How do they portray us, right? They're saying that we are misinformation, that we're lying, that we exaggerate, right? We're the bad ones here, right? But I've tried to take the time to point out as often as possible how they portray us. We're deplorable. And I mean, every 5 fucking seconds, right, the president comes out and accuses every single one of us as being extremists.
Because this MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history.
There is no doubt that the political left, the mainstream media, the bureaucracy all lie and try and make us into something we're not. So is it fair play? Is it turnabout being fair play to look at them and make up wild exaggerations about the things that we believe and we think are important? Or should we stick to the tried and true and prove everything 100%? Or is there a balance in there somewhere? Well, once again, I've got this. Okay, the New York Times, the newspaper shit rag. I wouldn't use it to wipe my bunghole because I wouldn't want their ink on my bunghole. But the New York Times, over the pedophilia-like imagery used by Balenciaga in their fashionista photo shoots and promotions and stuff, New York Times is coming to their rescue. They're sticking up for and trying to protect these scumbags who want to sexualize children. So the New York Times, instead of blaming those people that are actually doing this, who do they blame? Folks, they blame QAnon. They blame QAnon. The ridiculous LARP, live action role play, hoodwink. Everyone got sucked into Q. Follow the Q. Where we go one, where we go all. Right? They got sucked into that, and no one, to my knowledge, really is QAnoning it anymore. But New York Times dredges that up, blames them, the people who are like, yes, Q. Right? He's blaming them for the pedophilia-like imagery that their good buddies at Balenciaga did. So that's how they portray us, right? So do they deserve my respect? No, they don't. But, what do we do with this? How do we cover this, right? How do we go about talking? My idea, my concept is to get people to wake the hell up, to get prepared, to understand the world that's going on around. There's propaganda on both sides. The Democrat side, the Republican side, the wild, wacky, patriot, conservative, Christian conspiracy. Right, we're all over here. We're lumped as the alternative, right? So I've got this email that Jolene sent me, and we all have something in common here on the Prepared Mind Network in the alternative zone. Some are more Christian, some are more libertarian, some are more conservative, some are more veteran-oriented, violent-oriented, according to the left. If you're a veteran, you're violent. All of this. Anyways, this guy says this, Mikey. He says, John, I've been a loyal subscriber for a long time now, and I will be in the future. I was drawn to your show early on because your story mirrors mine almost completely, except I'm 20 years ahead of you. Right? He's a general contractor, had a messy divorce, served in the military. He was in the U.S. Army during Vietnam. Don't need that. Don't need that right now. Okay. Right. And he said, he gave me some information about his runs in Vietnam. Crazy, right? He says, don't really know why I'm writing you this, but I feel like you are a friend, and I wanted you to know your talks and analysis have helped me greatly to cope with the coming difficulties. Like brothers from a different mother, love you, man. AKA Mikey G. Keep on keeping on. Thank you, Mikey G, for everything you wrote there. It was a long email, but we are here in this group, right? We've got the right wing, so-called right wing. It's a bunch of but Rhino Republicans are the right wing, and we're supposed to be, some other group. How do we do this? How do we get a hold of what is really happening, what is true, what is false, etc.? Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? Let me tell you more about the Democrats and Rhinos and people on their side, and then you can decide whether you want to be part of that or whether you want to be part of something that is more about thinking for ourselves. But once we start thinking for ourselves, we have to accept full responsibility for the information we get, we share, et cetera, et cetera. So the author who wrote Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, she has been attacked again by the trans movement, right? This time, why? Because she misgendered the alleged Twitter account of a convicted child murderer. So the left, these people, the rhinos who are attacking Trump and anyone who is a conservative Christian constitutionalist, they attack patriots, veterans, parents, and they, folks, they defend child murderers. That's your Democrats. Shit, it's the fan is here, and that's how this plays out, right? I don't believe it's you're either a Democrat or you're a Republican. I believe that we are all independent, right? We're all independent. And we need to think independently. We need to talk with one another. And I think that's the thing that they want to stop altogether, is us from thinking, talking, sharing. Now, of course, they'll use the excuse, the rhinos, social media, mainstream media, Democrats, liberals, scumbag commies. They all want to say you're not allowed to think at all. You're not allowed to get your own information at all. And then they'll point to people who are the most radical and say, well, look, we got all these people. And this, I'll refer to Uman's comments to me today. He's like, they'll be misquoting actuary tables and trying to make the number sound really big about the increase in the number of people dying, right? And it's misquoting, and then they'll quote each other all over the place. And I think we need to be careful with that. Right. We have to be careful, not because I'm worried about the Democrats or the Republican rhinos. I'm not worried about social media. I don't care about the mainstream media. I don't care about big tech. I don't care. Who cares? I don't give a shit what they think. Look at what they accuse us of. I don't give a shit what they think, right? Because they're a bunch of hypocrites. What I care about is what I think. And I want the information and thoughts that I have in my head to be well thought out, to the conclusions I come to be from genuine thinking. I don't want to hear someone's bullshit and then accept that for myself and start living their bullshit in their lives. For example, I love to do, I truly do love to play Take a Wild Guess. Now, if I read this story to you and said, a school bus filled with children crashed into a house in Spring Valley, New York. People are seriously injured, right? And if I said, take a wild guess as to what happened, and then you'd be like, well, is John insinuating that the driver had Jim Jones juice, right? There's nothing in the story that says why the bus was crashed. But that's an example of taking a piece of news and then adding a bunch of belief system onto it that just doesn't quite fit the take a wild freaking guess series that I like to run, right? But this one does. Canadian influencer Megha Thakur, right? She died both suddenly and unexpectedly at age 21. Now, again, we have young people dying, right? Young people dying, and it doesn't seem to make any sense. It doesn't. Just like this, take a wild guess. A second grade student suddenly dies, right? So, okay, We can make some presumptions. We can take a wild guess why this second grade student suddenly died, right? And they're calling it, sudden. It's epidemic, right? So I've got this story, and it is the vigilantfox.substack.com, right? And then they go into other thing. 80 dead doctors in Canada following mandatory Jim Jones juice injections, right? Kids are, so what is really going on? All I know is the Democrats are lying. 3/4 of the Republicans are lying. The other quarter probably don't know what they're talking about. We're being completely held in the dark. We got Dr. Fauci saying he is science. I have personally in my life people who are dying. Now, what gets me is the very first one they show on TV, right? They give it to the young nurse, and she falls over, right, while giving her little, see, it wasn't so bad. Little X's came over her eyes, and she fell over, and we never saw her again. Right. Other people, I know someone got it and died, right? The numbers are people are getting it and having reactions. A lot of people are dying. We're hearing about all these clots. We're hearing about heart attacks. We're hearing about strokes, hearing about neurological problems. Famous people. The reason I bring up famous people is I go, okay, they're well known and they'll get in the press. The average person that keels over isn't going to get any press. So my friend who died, Randall, there's no press nationally for him. But when Eric Clapton gets the Jim Jones juice and he loses the ability, his dexterity, and he's one of the greatest guitar players, of all time, and he can't play, well, he came out and talked about it, right? So, again, the cerveza bug bullshit kicked off, shit hitting the fan back in the spring of 2020. We're rolling up on 3 years of that, plus war, the lies there, plus right, the economy, plus critical race theory, plus everything, right? All the race baiting crap, all of the LGBTQ stuff, all of the grooming of children. It's insane what I'm reading about. The people are continuing to find books in schools, and they bring them out and they read them to the school board, who says, hey, you can't say those words here, and then stop that. That's gross. And hey, there's children in the audience. It's like, well, you're putting the books in the children's school. Who do you think's reading them? Right. Anyways, it's not just doctors dying. It's not just young people. It's lots of people. So I really can't know, and I'm only as good as the information I gather. And I want to be careful with accepting information from people I know are confirmed liars, like Dr. Fauci, anyone in Congress, right? Rhino Republican, same story. Mainstream media, I don't believe a fucking word they say. They've been lying to us before we had SHTF. They were lying to us when I was a kid, right? But there's a group of people that I want to trust, and that is the alternative media. In fact, we talked about this. It was Cat Turd, I think, who said, citizen journalists. Am I a citizen journalist? No, I have to claim to be a satirist, a smartass, a cynical guy. But yeah, I'm passing along information and thought. And I want everyone on this Thursday, because it's Thursday, right? Tomorrow's Friday, yay. So Thursday, I start reeling myself back in, right? What is going on? I want to get a look at things, right? Kids are struggling to concentrate post Jim Jones juicination. What does that mean in the news headline? Right? What does that mean? Again, take a wild freaking guess, right? A 35-year-old Pittsburgh Penguins. Take a wild guess. A Pittsburgh Penguin, he's a professional hockey player. The defenseman, Chris Letang, he suffered a stroke. Is that normal? I really don't follow hockey. I don't know how many of them go out at the end of the year with strokes. I don't know how many of them have heart attacks. Now, again, if you're taking performance-enhancing drugs, steroids to make yourself stronger and faster and a better athlete, then that's going to affect your liver. It's going to affect your heart. It could affect your pulmonary system. Who knows? But on the other hand, it sure smells terrible. I used to hear when I was younger that celebrities die in 3. So if you hear 1, right, then you expect to hear 2 more. And is it just that everyone's all of a sudden paying attention and like, hey, someone died, let's wait for the next 2 to drop, right? Or is everyone just hypersensitive? I know for me, I am not going to take the Jim Jones juice. You couldn't pay me to take it. Why the hell would I do that? Right? Especially at my age 52. I'm that old shit. Anyways, I want you to understand, folks, what's going on. And maybe when I say, look at the Democrats, look at the Rhino Republicans, look at the social media, tech media, big giants, look at mainstream media. And I say, well, let's try and understand the world that we live in. Our country is being attacked. Every time they say, let's get rid of the First Amendment and we're going to silence people and censor people and take them off of the internet, right? We're going to punish them financially, ruin their jobs, ruin their social lives, ruin their families. That's not normal. That's not normal at all. Right? Every time they try and take the Second Amendment, that's not normal. Those are extra constitutional efforts. Right? So who would want to destroy America? Anti-Americans. Who are the anti-Americans? Well, Americans like their Constitution, which provide freedoms for us and protections against tyrannical government. So the people that want to destroy that want tyrannical government and hate our freedoms. That would be the communist socialist types. So we need to understand the commies. They know, folks, that they want to take over a country, and they know that they are taking over our country right now. And there's only one way to do it. They have to infiltrate the control mechanisms, the legislatures, the executives, as well as the judges. They also need to control the bureaucracy and law enforcement. Have we seen any evidence of that? So in order to take over the country, they have to infiltrate, and they also have to be patient and understand this takes decades and decades and decades. Yuri Brzezinski, I can never say his name properly, former escapee, right, from the Soviet Union, used to talk about how they understand this takes decades. Well, it's been in the progress decades. He was talking about it, Yuri Brezhnev. No, it wasn't Brezhnev. Anyways, I should probably get a link to his videos and get it back out there. Hopefully someone in the audience knows exactly who I'm talking about. He did a lot of documentary work for the United States while here in the United States and helping people understand communist infiltration techniques. Brezhnev. I can never say his name right. Anyways, there are videos all over YouTube of this guy talking about communists and their plans. They have to infiltrate, they have to be patient, and it takes decades. They must, in order to take over, be willing to work from within the government, and they have to violate their personal commie principles to maintain their jobs in a place that has freedom until they have enough authority in their bureaucracy, in their job, to come out and start pushing their communist crap. And folks, they now have that kind of power, that kind of influence, that kind of control. Look at the FBI. Look what it's doing. Look at the IRS investigating partisan enemies. Look at how Joe Biden is going after everyone, right? Understand they have the authority now, and so they're using it. And they have to, folks, be willing to violate their duty, their job description. They have to violate their oaths. How many people have we seen that? They're more than willing to violate their oaths, which is to defend, support, right, and protect the people and the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Fucking Biden is letting enemies into the country, right? So they have to violate their duty, their oaths, and even the law. They have to come out and blatantly violate the law and then lie to everyone to protect themselves and protect each other. Do we see that all the time or what? And they have to be willing, folks, to take all these risks, and then they have to be willing to be found guilty and go to prison for their cause if they're caught. And they are, and they do. I just pointed to the Louisiana Democrats who are sentenced to prison for buying votes. A chief of police, a councilman. Folks, back in 2017, I was talking about lots of people who were getting caught cheating, lying, stealing. They're being investigated then, and they just kept doing it. They don't care. They don't care. They're willing to do this. They're willing to ruin their lives, sacrifice their lives for their communist cause. So if someone's willing to die or go all the way to defeat us, how far do we have to be willing to go? If they're willing to go this high, we're going to have to be willing to go higher in our efforts to respond to them. Not inciting violence, not encouraging illegal, unlawful, dangerous, or harmful behavior. Not glamorizing shit. I'm just saying, folks, this is the level of the fight we're in. Shit has hit the fan. Oh, yeah, by the way, get your comments down below your questions, right? And I want to bring this to your attention. I've got so much to talk about today. I've been working diligently, and I'm in my head, right? Down in Brazil, they had a bad game of Nintendo, and millions and millions of Brazilians are calling on the army to save their democracy, to save the Brazilian form of government from a corrupt communist leader named Lula, right? Now, I want to say this. Asking for the military to get involved, asking for the army to save you, that's kind of a two-edged sword. So a lot of people have said in America back when Trump was president, we want the military to come in and fix this, right? Careful what you ask for, folks. You're asking for martial law. The Brazilians are starting to scream for it. So I want to ask this, is martial law okay? People are like, fuck that, no martial law. Is martial law better than a communist takeover? Is martial law better than a communist takeover? Is having military control of the country better than the communists? Right? All these commies in DC and the commies at the state level and the commies in your city council. What is better? Well, let me describe martial law. The military is in charge of everything. They tell you when to come, when to go, what you can do, what you can't do, right? You're under their absolute dictatorial control. When communists take over, they go about and they cleanse the country of anyone who opposes them politically. That is why communists, right? Communist Russia, which became the Soviet Union, communist China under Chairman Mao, they killed close to, on their own, not counting Hitler, the other socialist, but the socialist communists in the Soviet Union and China killed almost 100 million people. I don't know of any country that had martial law declared that killed their own people in the millions. Oh, they kill people and they kill people in the thousands, and they jail people and they jail people in the thousands, but not the millions. The communist governments terrorize their own people, and governments that have martial law in place, they terrorize their people as well. There's a lot of terror. I think there's a whole lot less, shall we say, government-sanctioned murder by martial law, but it's not good for anyone. This is SHTF. This is where we could be heading, right? Do we want martial law? Do we want a communist takeover? Do we want Mad Max on the streets? Do we want partisan conflict, or do we want an all-out civil war? Careful what you wish for, but I don't think us wishing for anything is going to make it happen. You and I don't get to determine what happens. If one of us decided that we're going to play Rambo and go fix it all, we'll make it a couple hours, couple days, and get greased. You won't make a difference, right? It is the people at the top, the people in charge of the government, the military, the banking structure, social media / mainstream media. They're the ones that really push things in a certain direction. And when they're ready, they're going to push it all over us, whether it is martial law, because Joe Biden is out of patience, right? Or whether it's a communist takeover, and they just say, that's it, the Constitution is suspended, and we're going into another form of government, or we're just going to erase the Constitution altogether and say it is outdated and it's done. And government is going to be in charge from here on out because, pandemic or grid down scenario playing out, whatever excuse they want. Please get your comments, your thoughts down below. And man, there's so much to discuss on this. So much on this Thursday. I'm just going to plain old Thursday, just like the title of the video. Hey, it's Thursday. Welcome. Unbelievable what is going on, folks. Right? Unbelievable. I'm going to have some more fun with you. I can't help it. Right? When I say that the political left is trying to destroy the country, and I'm talking about the Rhino, Republican name only, Rhino Republicans, the Democrats who are a bunch of socialists. Who is on your side and my side? Who is actually doing something for the country? Right? Who is actively trying to hurt us, and who is actively doing nothing to help? Well, we have one particular senator who got my attention today, and he's Senator John Kennedy out of the state of Louisiana. Not John F. Kennedy, not that Kennedy clan, but he is John Kennedy. And he went on to criticize Biden's energy policy, which is kill the Keystone Pipeline, kill all the other pipelines, stop drilling, stop fracking, no more exploration, killing offshore drilling and exploration, killing everything he can. Right. So this is what Senator Kennedy had to say about Biden's energy policy. It's a quote. Here we go. I used to have a beagle named Roger, and Roger was a rascal. About every 2 weeks, Roger would run off. He'd always come back, but about half the time he'd come back dragging roadkill that he would hide under my back porch. President Biden's energy policy looks like something Roger used to keep under my back porch. Right? So it's comical, but it seems to hit a little bit close to home, right? Satire, humor, cynicism, right? What he had under his porch that got drug home, right? Biden just wanders off and he comes back and he's like, this is our energy policy. We're going to shut everything down. No new permits for expansions in the refinement of oil. We're going to kill all petroleum-based energy by 2035 or 2050 or whatever number they want to throw out. In 10 years or less, the polar ice caps are going to melt and we're all going to drown. How many times have we heard that bullshit, right? And that's the excuse. That's the justification for these ridiculous policies. Now, Kennedy wanted to continue. Senator Kennedy continues, quote, it is a fact that America has the greatest, the strongest economy in all of human history. We can't run it without fossil fuels. Not today, not tomorrow. It is also a fact that through reserves and technology, America can produce every drop of oil and natural gas that we need and have extra left over to sell to our friends. That presents a problem to President Biden because he has embraced the woke or berserk wing of the Democrat Party and woke ideology that says we need to get rid of oil and gas in the United States. So President Biden has developed a new energy policy, and it is this. Instead of producing at a cheaper cost our own oil and gas in America, we're going to buy oil from foreign countries that hate us, in this case, Venezuela. So those foreign countries will have more money to buy weapons to try to kill us. It's a marathon. When we hear a senator or we hear a congressman make statements like these, it reminds me of different densities of liquid. Oil floats on top of water because it is less dense. And so there are these layers. A lot of times we'll hear a news story where something happens and it rises and it gets more people's attention, but it hits like a layer and it can't get higher, right? The problems we have, right? They never seem to get up to people who can do something about it, but sometimes they do, right? And we hear about it from them and we're like, hey, something can be done, right? Someone's paying attention, right? Kind of like Ted Cruz.
I talked to a student recently at one of our woke college campuses who said she's required in every class to introduce herself and to give her pronouns. Well, I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
There you go. My pronoun is, and you hear that from Senator Ted Cruz, or you hear Senator Kennedy. And it's like, okay, that problem, what's going on, made it all the way to the top levels. They're aware of it. They see the facts. They should be able to fix things, but nothing happens. Do they just acknowledge it and let us know? Yeah, they're well aware of it, but nothing can be done? Unbelievable, folks. This is the trouble we're in. See, even if you and I get the news spread, we individually can't do anything about it. We would just be, greased wax. We can't cause anything to be fixed. And the people that are in power to fix things, well, they can every now and then make some hubbub about it, but they're not changing anything. Ted Cruz hasn't changed anything. Senator Kennedy can't change anything. Matt Gaetz can't change anything. Big Marge can't change anything. They can interfere with the policies. We're hoping they're going to impeach Biden, but jackass McCarthy is saying no if he gets in power, right? We have jackass McCarthy trying to get power in the House House of Representatives. He wants to be Speaker, and they're trying to stop him. Folks, I want you and me and us, all of us, to collectively, individually try to get these people to understand what we're saying so that that information reaches the highest levels. And then we want them to know we support them at that highest level to actually do something. And that's the trouble we've had, is getting the information out in a believable fashion to get it to high enough people screaming for it that it gets to the highest levels. But we're just not getting there, which is why I say you better be prepared. Yes, America is going to wake up one morning and go, what the fuck happened? And everyone got that with Cerveza-Bug when they first said, everyone locked down. And like, I'm not going to work. How am I going to pay my bills? Who's going to feed my family? What about my mortgage? Am I going to have a job? Is there going to be a business there? Right? Everyone woke up and went, that's not right. Since when does this kind of sort of thing happen? You know, but then everyone kind of, you know, okay, well, whatever. We'll just go with it. We'll roll with it. Yeah. Right. And the bad guys did everything they could to scare the hell out of us. But here we are, folks. What do we do? I say get prepared, right? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Right? Get a plan. Tell other people, wake the hell up. At some point, you know, we're not going to be able to fix anything. At some point, the system breaks. The system breaks. We either have a complete and total takeover by some government power, some government entity, the communists, for example, and they just trash us and they come after us, or the system collapses upon its own weight, kind of like the Roman Empire or right, or the Soviet Union. They're so corrupt, so broke that they just collapse and they're just done. Either way, you got shit, it's the fan, you got Mad Max, you got trouble, you got food issues, power issues, fuel issues, education issues, military issues, all these issues, right? And it's a conflagration that just burns. It just burns. This is what we've got, right? This is why it's like the question is, what do we do about this? And a lot of people have asked me, John, what do we do? We need to organize, and we need, where are you going to go? Right? We've seen the biggest protests, truckers protest shutting down DC, trucker protest shutting down Canada, right? Farmer protest, trucker protest in Deutschland, in the Netherlands. And what happens in the Netherlands? Government says, hey, we're shutting down 3,000 more farms. Fuck you, we don't care. Right? This is who they are. Right? One of the January 6th Gulag prisoners, his name's John Mellis. He's spoken out. He says that the people who have been arrested and held by the government have been sexually assaulted, zip tied in the middle of the night, right? 2 years of isolation, being held in prison in solitary confinement, right? Abused, terrible conditions, everything else. Do you have any doubts about the condition or state of this country, right? The bloom is off the road, right? This is no longer a government of people. It's no longer about freedom, liberty, and the Constitution. Thank you, Google. It's not. It's about how much power does the government have, how much can it hold on to, and how much can it push, right? Do you have any doubt that King George Hitler pedo Biden is not running the single most corrupt U.S. government administration and system ever? The IRS, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, the military through the Pentagon. Right? Do you have any doubt about these people and what they want for us? You're going to eat bugs and you'll like it. You'll have no property rights. Folks, the only way they can win is if we quit believing it up here. We need to believe it. We need to understand it. We need the truth or the facts, the best we can get. Not believing bullshit, not believing hyperbole. I mean, understanding that this show is entertainment, but I try bringing in, right, the thought process. It's a balancing act. I don't want to be some boring knothead. At the same time, I don't want to be some loudmouth blubberhead who's, well, spouting lies and bullshit, just trying to get clicks. Trying to get people to wake up, think for themselves, look, ask questions, get others to do the same thing, get prepared, of course. And here we are, right? Here we are, right? I mean, and this is how the left treats themselves, right? The jackass, Bankman-Fried, the TXL CEO of the TXL, or not TXL, what the hell is he? The FTX? What the hell name? Is it FTX, who, man? He's shaking his head. Yes, FTX. Too many letters out there. The FTX guy, Bankman-Fried, this is what he says. He says, hey, I've had a bad month. Oh, really? He says, quote, I didn't ever try to commit fraud on anyone. Do you believe that? I didn't ever try to commit fraud on anyone. It just happened all by itself, right? Sure. He claims he was shocked by what happened. Oh, he was shocked, huh? This is what this guy claims, a guy who's got billions of dollars in his investment fund. He says, I have limited access to data. He was asked to reconstruct what has happened. Well, I can't really. I have limited access to the data. You know, if he didn't have access to the data, who did, why, when, and where, and how did they use it? Right. He says, I didn't knowingly commingle funds, meaning taking investment funds and putting it in his own bank account. Well, I didn't knowingly do it. I just accidentally did it because I have limited access to data and I had a really bad month. Excuse after excuse after excuse. It's never ending with these idiots, and especially this one. And these are the same excuses used by government. I can't remember. I don't have a clear memory, right? Every time it comes to them, if they need to remember something, they'll remember it. But if they need to deny responsibility, they'll come up with any excuse. I didn't know, I didn't mean to, I didn't knowingly, and so on and so forth. And then all is fine for them. But all that money's gone. If you're an American, you're suffering. If you're a citizen in any country, you're suffering. I mean, the people in Europe starting to freeze to death. They don't have energy. They don't have fuel. They don't have natural gas. Why? Because the bigwigs in government, folks, the European socialist governments that wanted to start a pissing match with Russia and then blame Russia for the fact that Russia says, well, okay, then if you want to be a dick, we're going to cut your energy. And then somebody manages to blow up the pipelines, underwater natural gas pipelines, Nord Stream 1 and 2, blown up. Are we supposed to believe Russia did that? Because, well, Russia, folks, is making money. So they can build and buy more weapons so they can fight, right? No, they would blow up their own source of income. I mean, give me a break. But, we're supposed to believe that. And I did have some guy today tell me, how bad the Russians are. I was like, okay, I get it. I know they're the bad guys, but it takes two to tango. All right. I've gone long, actually, so I guess I better straighten up and do some Q&A with you guys.
Are you ready?
All right, we are back, and Uman is at the helm. He's got his blue wrench, he's got a mouse, and hopefully he has something good to drink. And here is Mikey G. He says, riots in Iran. That's right. Remember that? The Iranian people are rioting against the theocracy they have there. A theocracy is a religious government, right? The Ayatollah Khomeini, right? Riots there. Riots in China because they have a communist dictatorship. And they have instituted some martial law, and I discussed that in this morning's Zero Dark 30 video, rolling out the tanks. Where do you think they will appear next? Riots? I'm expecting riots in Europe. I really am. The reason I pick out Europe as one of the primary places is because of the energy crisis. People can only take so much. They can only take so much starvation. They can only take so much thirst. They can only take so much confusion, right? They can only take so much just bitter cold. They can only take so much lies, and they'll riot. Now, Brazil, possibility there. They are, in my opinion, this close from having massive riots. I mean, and we were told, hey, those are mostly peaceful protests in America. Well, to me, those look a lot like fucking riots. When you got people burning, looting, and murdering, that looks pretty much like a riot. But they claimed it was mostly peaceful. Unfucking believable. Mostly peaceful, my ass. So, Mikey, you know, I look at that and go, well, these protesters who are protesting, they want law and order. They want their constitution, their government structure to be respected. But how far do you have to be pushed before you go over that edge, right? How hungry do you have to be where you're protesting your starvation before you say, that's it, we're just going to start killing people, right? People lose their minds. I attended a kind of a 45-minute lecture. And the discussion boiled down to, at the very end of it, and the guy that was speaking, genius level IQ, and a bit of a philosopher. So that's why I was participating in this discussion. And he basically said people are unreasonable, emotional, illogical actors. By actor, I mean they participate in life. They're people, they're a person, but they're mostly illogical and mostly emotional. That was his opinion. And so you have to do what you can to give people the most information they can so they can make the most informed decision possible, so they feel like they have control in their life. And I thought that's an interesting way to think it. When you're starving, you can't get food, so you're hungry, and you don't feel like you have control over your life. Your own, not everyone else, right? You're not trying to control everyone else, just your own life. If you don't have access to food, you don't have control over your life. Surveys to sneeze. If your political system is failing you, and voting doesn't work, and making phone calls doesn't work, and using the court system doesn't work, then you feel like you've lost control. And so you act out and respond emotionally, right? You're scared, fear, right? Fear and being scared, fearful. That's the number one motivator in human behavior. And so the less control we have over our own lives, the more fearful we become, and then people act out because they're emotional and illogical at that point. On the prepper side, we want all the information we can get, so we make informed decisions. We can predict what's going to happen. Now, in Mikey's case, he wants to predict riots. So we look to where there's the most fear, the most concern, the most loss of control by the people. People in Europe, they've lost control over their energy system. The government's completely fucked it up, and now they're scared. They could riot. Brazil, they know they've been cheated and hornswoggled. They've been swindled. They've been lied to. They know it. They're feeling like they're losing control of their government. And so they're protesting, and they could turn to riots. In our own lives, folks, imagine how you would feel if you didn't have food. And then you heard the stores running out. And then you found out you couldn't get gasoline to drive anywhere. And then you found out your bank account's frozen. You're losing control over your own life, your own decision, your own ability to make decisions. So as a prepper, you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine. You have the ability to protect yourself. So you maintain the maximum amount of control. And then you try and get as much information as possible. You have a plan. You put all these things together, and it helps you maintain your logical, rational perspective. So like I said early in the show, there's a lot of lies out there and a lot of hysteria and a lot of bullshit. If we understand that that's basically what that is, and that there's a couple key elements in there that we need to take to heart, like, well, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm not taking the Jim Jones juice. I want to maintain that control over my health. I'm not going to leave that up to someone like Fauci, who's a liar, or McCarthy, or McConnell, liars, Republicans, and certainly not any Democrat liars, certainly not some bureaucracy where their jobs, their livelihood depends on us being willing to suck up to them and kiss their asses and believe them. Not happening, right? So I want to maintain control over my life. And that's how a libertarian, a freedom-minded person is, right? Let's go with that. All right, man, let's move on if we shall. I know I'm waxing long today, philosophically, maybe. We have East Texas Country Boy. He says, I haven't verified, but I seen another creator showing Tractor Supply website where they had a pro ESG page. That's environmental social governance. A company that supposedly serves farmers sponsors environmental social governance. They sell feed. What's next? Are they going to start promoting PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals at Tractor Farm Supply? Now, here's the deal, folks. Farmers, especially those who have cows, chickens, turkeys, hogs, right, sheep, all these things, right, beef, they try and treat their animals with the most, shall we say, humane manner possible. Is it how I want to live? No, I don't want to live in a high-density feedlot having corn stuffed in all my holes to fatten me up so that someone can eat me. That's how I feel with the Democrats and socialists and scumbags in Washington, D.C. I feel like they just want to keep me fat and stupid so that they can eat me. That is, live off of me. And that's what they do. That's where I'm at with them, right? So, yeah, Tractor Supply Company, if they want to get woke, well, let them go broke. And there are a lot of companies that are promoting ESG because they see that it's been around for 5-6 years now, this idea of growing your company based off of woke bullshit and ideology instead of facts and figures and logic and reason. Once again, right? Companies that go ESG, they start to lose control and grasp of reality, and they just start reaching for anything. And they grab onto a rope that they think is going to pull them to safety, and instead it breaks and drops them in quicksand. Hasta la vista, Tractor Supply Company, if that's how you want to be. All right, let's move on. I know we got a lot of questions, and I've been going long today. James Nicholson shows up. He says the military is Obama's. That would be Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro Obama. Obama's military. He purged the patriots from the military officer corps. The Soviets' plan for takeover was in part to turn the children into communists. Truly, folks, the military, especially, folks, the officer corps, has been heavily infiltrated by communists. Period. And as far as children, turning them into communists, who is teaching them? Left-wing lunatic, LGBTQ, critical race theory pushing, anti-American, anti-white, anti-Europe, anti-civilization, anti-law and order, anti-cop, anti-parent, anti-normal, anti-traditional, anti-cultural teachers. Yeah, they're turning the children into communists as fast as they can, as hard as they can. And when I run into these people, folks, I meet them. They're right there. Now, they operate with a mindset that the government's the good guy. And so they've given up all of their control to the government. And they're like, the government will take care of everything. And so they have absolute and total faith in Joe Biden. They have absolute and total faith in the Democrats, Washington, D.C., and they have absolute total faith in them because it's easier for them. They're idiots. And they're like, government will fix it. And so they don't have to think about it anymore. That's out of their mind. They're not responsible. But when they go hungry, they're going to go, wait, government doesn't have control of the situation? And I don't have control of the situation. Then they panic, right? Their heads spin around and they're spun. They're done. It's just spun and done. Anyways, thanks, James. Great topic. And that's what's happening. Moving along. Man, who do we have up next, man? He said, Muho is in the house. He says, I have to laugh every time I hear a pro-Putin rant. Q-Tard started this. Putin was saving the children. Damn, this planet is so apeshit. Putin, bad guy. Putin, bad guy. Russia, bad guy. Europe, bad guy. Van der Leyen of the European Union, bad guy. They're all bad. Right? Who started the fight in Ukraine? Was it NATO pushing for Ukraine to become a NATO, pushing NATO bases? Was it Russia? Right? Well, you decide for yourself. Right? How about this? Who pushed Europe into using Russian gas and oil? Did Putin sell it to them and say, hey, you have to buy our shit or we're going to bomb you? Or did Europe get into their climate challenge, climate crisis mode and say, we're cutting out all this coal and we're cutting out gas and we're not going to get our own energy. We're going to rely on Russia. I mean, they put Russia and Putin in the driver's seat with regard to power over their energy. Why the hell would you do that if Putin is such an evil bastard? Did they really think they were going to control him? What a mess. Pro-Putin rant. Q-tards started this. Look out. Like Putin was saving the children. I know that Putin doesn't want LGBTQ, IP, ABC, whatever the hell those people are, any of them, any of that in Russia, especially for the children. They're criminalizing the promotion and propaganda of pedophilia and transgenderism and everything else. I don't know if that is such a bad thing, but, you know, I'm a normal guy, right? And in fact, they've even turned the word normies into a negative concept. The leftists have turned on us and looked at us and go, you guys are a bunch of stupid normies. I'm like, really? That's a bad thing? Being normal? No, they think that they are the majority and they're normal, but they're not normal. They're trying to normalize this by pushing it on us and tell us to accept it. I don't accept it. And for them to castigate me and call me a normie in a pejorative sense, they're not making any friends with me, and they're certainly not convincing me they're right by saying I'm a normie, I'm a normal person, and therefore bad. Makes no fucking sense, right? Well, it does on Bizarro Land, or apeshit planet, if you will. Thank you, Moo-Ho, and moving on. If we've got some more there, man. Before I get to Dennis, I want to say this. There are many people that I run into on the internet, through the R Syndicate, through the Prepared Mind Network, through friends of friends of friends of friends, and they seem to be on the same page as us. And then one day they just lose their shit. And I'm like, what happened to you, man? You were normal yesterday. You know, why did you lose your shit? Why did you lose? They fucking lose it. I think that they've been pushed too far, too hard, too long, and they fucking melt down. And they're like, I can't believe any of this shit anymore. It's like, dude, just go outside and look around. Pick up a newspaper. Watch regular TV. Stop watching me. Go look at someone else. Don't listen to me. Go listen to them. Tell me who's fucking crazy. Right? People are just losing their shit. They're being pushed too far. Now, thankfully, they're not all becoming violent idiots. That would be the left wing. They are the violent idiots. I mean, it's rather unbelievable. Yeah. Dennis Chandler, he says, question, I thought that any money that was donated to congressmen that was possibly illegally obtained was supposed to be returned. FTX donations also, is that coming from a foreign country? Dennis, you make some great points here. Yeah, money illegally gotten or obtained from disreputable sources is supposed to be, right, earmarked, returned, surrendered, whatever. Is that happening? I couldn't tell you. All this FTX money, is it being traced? Well, it is in the blockchain. Every single transaction that is ever made with any crypto coin is supposed to be traced through this blockchain. So it's traceable. Who is in charge of this? Who's in charge of it? How about the election commission? Right? Are they doing their job? I don't know. Hey, if they're doing their job, great, and they're turning that money in. If they're not doing their job, how can we make them do anything? We can't make the FBI do their fucking job. Can't make the IRS do their job. They're going to hire 65,000 more people to do what? Right? To go after you? Unbelievable. They're certainly not going to go after billionaires. They'll just buy them out. Anyways, let's do this. Let's get a couple more peeks at some more comments, and then we're gonna blow this popsicle stand. Right? We're out of here. We got Uman. He says, got to take everything we hear with a grain of salt. I hear you, brother. Whether out of ignorance, accident, or malice, both sides get facts wrong. That's why I keep saying question everything and everyone, and that includes this guy right here. That's why on the preparedmind.club and subscribestar.com, I say you come there, you can get the news stories, right? It's $2 a month, 7 cents a day, yada, yada, yada. It's not expensive. It promotes what we do, free speech, etc. But at least you get to see the news stories. And folks, I'll see a news story and it'll be on 30 different websites because they borrowed it from another one and they all borrow it from each other. And ultimately you can get back to the source. But, I try and make it simple and keep it streamlined and keep it down to just a few websites that are more trustworthy than others. And even still, I question everything I read and see and hear. And they don't get a grain of salt. Sometimes I dump a bucket of salt on them. But again, I'm looking for information that supports the idea that we're under attack because that's how I feel. That is the sensation I have as we're being attacked as Americans. My First Amendment, the very words that I speak are bad, harmful, dangerous. When the president and other politicians call me a threat to the country as I pay my taxes, work, and don't violate any laws. So I feel attacked, and that and for many other reasons. So I look for information that supports the idea that, yeah, we the people are being attacked. And so therefore we need to understand that ultimately there is an end to it. Right? Any action ultimately has an end. You can kick a ball, football, for example, a little bounce left, bounce right, roll around, but eventually it comes to a stop, right? It all ends. How does this end, this thing we're in, end? Does it end well or not? Is it an easy end or a hard end? Well, we don't have all the answers yet, but we keep looking for information. And I look in places that I know that confirm what's happening, what I'm seeing, that we're being attacked. I confirm that, and then I look and see what they're doing so I can understand what the future holds for us, right? Because I don't want to feel like I've lost control. I haven't lost control. I'm looking at everyone else, though. Government's losing control. The banking system's losing control. The economy's losing control. The military's losing control. World leadership is losing control. That's when war breaks out. All right, I got one more, man. I know I've gone a little long. If we're all set, we're set. If not, we're done. We got Mikey G. He says, welcome to the new boss, same as the old boss. We won't be fooled again. I was just listening to The Who today as I drove along, and gotta love it, folks. Shit, that's from almost 50 years ago. We won't get fooled again. And thank you, Robert Daltrey, for that timeless hit. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Semper Fi, Godspeed. I'll see you 0 Dark 30, and it'll be free for all Friday, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, depending on where you're at, with respect to the sun in the sky. Godspeed, Semper Fi.